What steps can you take when the restaurant you've inherited is profitable, yet the individuals managing it are gradually undermining its essence? Tobias Ayers reclined in the aged leather chair of his office, gazing intently at the folder before him. The business had been crafted by his family over 3 generations, with 8 fast casual restaurants established throughout the state. Following the death of his father, Tobias assumed control. He understood figures, tactics, growth. However, lately, there has been an unsettling feeling. There was an increase in complaints. The rate of employee turnover was elevated. District. Managers pointed fingers at the current work ethic, yet Tobias remained unconvinced. One store in particular, located in a bustling suburb, kept coming to mind. Hiccups in the kitchen, charred meals, ungracious service. Yet the figures appeared quite satisfactory when viewed on the page. That was what irritated him the most. Was reluctant to dispatch auditors. He was not interested in receiving yet another polished report. He was eager to witness it firsthand. He removed the beard, colored his silver hair, and swapped his suit for a worn hoodie, jeans, and steel-toed boots. Under the alias Tommy, he submitted his application to a temp agency for a position as a night shift janitor. Store 4 was completely blindsided. The place buzzed with activity, its interior worn and weary, yet brimming with patrons. None of the staff had encountered Tobias previously, as corporate rarely sent him around. For many, the CEO's name was just a line in the orientation packet, a fresh addition to the night crew as a janitor. No one flinched. The beginning of his first night was challenging. Craig, the manager, failed to acknowledge him with even a simple greeting. Put the trash bins out back, clean the front with the mop, and leave the kitchen alone. That's it, Craig muttered, his gaze fixed on his phone. Tobias gave a slight nod. Understood, while he diligently cleaned the greasy tiles by the fryers. He maintained a low profile, attentive to the sounds around him. The kitchen lacked sufficient personnel. A slender young man in his early 20s, brimming with nervous energy, was attempting to manage the grill, fryer, and prep station all by himself. "Order up!" Craig shouted from the front. "I'm giving." "In my all, my friend, I'm giving it my all," the cook exclaimed, flipping burgers with unsteady hands. "Put in more effort, Liam," Craig snapped. "You've made another mistake. Your hours are being reduced." Tobias took a moment to reflect. That wasn't exasperation. That was a display of power. Once the frenzy subsided, Tobias strolled by the rear entrance, where Liam perched on a milk crate, beads of sweat glistening on his forehead, his hands quivering. "Are you okay, my friend?" Tobias inquired. Liam raised his gaze. "Indeed, it has been quite a lengthy day. It seems like you're handling the responsibilities of multiple individuals back there. Convey that to Craig. At one point, our team consisted of 4 talented chefs. 2 resigned last week. They just couldn't handle it anymore. They were quite impressive as well." Craig mentioned that there was no need to bring anyone else on board. Tobias tightened his jaw, a silent storm brewing within him. "That doesn't sound right." Liam chuckled with a hint of bitterness. "Everything feels off here." In the nights that followed, Tobias observed more of Craig's behavior, barking orders, taking breaks amidst the rush, and shifting blame for his own errors onto others. Once a food runner lost their footing on a slick floor that Tobias hadn't had the chance to clean. As Craig insisted, he prioritized tidying the manager's office instead. Yet what captivated Tobias the most was Liam. In the face of pressure, he maintained his composure with customers, always upholding his standards without compromise. On a particular night while working a late shift, Liam accidentally burned his hand. Craig turned a blind eye to it. "Are you going to whine about it or get back to cooking?" Craig scoffed. Liam remained silent. He secured a clean rag around his hand and continued his task with determination. Tobias etched a reminder in his mind. This child was not suited to be under the influence of someone like Craig. 2 weeks in, and then everything changed. A night on Saturday, a full house. The second cook has reported in sick. Liam found himself isolated once more, overwhelmed. Tobias was diligently scrubbing the bathroom when a sudden crash interrupted his task. He dashed outside and spotted Liam, paralyzed in place, with charred patties sizzling on the grill, the fryer emitting a relentless beep. pickup tickets piled high, and customers growing increasingly irate. Craig shouted, "Liam, relocate! I can't, Liam's voice trembled. "I'm in need of assistance," Craig sighed in exasperation. "Come to a conclusion." He turned and strolled off into the distance. Tobias acted without a second thought. He flung his gloves aside, cleansed his hands, and moved behind the line. "I'll take charge of the fryer," he declared. Liam's eyes fluttered. "Open and shut." "Excuse me, what did you say?" "You hold the position of the janitor not this evening." They rushed forward with great speed. Tobias let the fries tumble, toasted the buns with a practiced ease, moving with the confidence of someone who had mastered this routine long ago. Years ago, he toiled in the kitchen as a teenager, back when his father insisted he earn every dollar. It was a time when they shared moments together, catching up on life. The customers settled down. Orders have been dispatched. Once the frenzy subsided, Liam rested against the counter, weary. "Thank you," he murmured softly. Tobias met his gaze, a silent understanding passing between them as he said, "You didn't have to do that. You didn't do that either. Yet you did." Unbeknownst to them, Craig observed from the office window, his arms crossed and eyes narrowed in concentration, Tobias had reached his limit. Tomorrow he would return, but not as Tommy. Tobias made his way to Store 4 the following morning, driving his own car, looking sharp with a clean shave, a neatly pressed shirt, and his wedding ring back in place. No hoodie. There is no mop. The CEO unexpectedly strolled through the front doors a mere 20 minutes prior to opening time. Erica, the assistant manager, a young woman who hadn't been on the night shift in weeks, glanced up from her preparations at the register. Her eyes grew large with surprise. "Good morning," Tobias remarked with a sense of tranquility. "I am Tobias Ayers. It seems we are yet to be introduced." She remained motionless, clutching a roll of receipt paper in her hand. "My apologies. I was unaware of your arrival, sir." "I understand. That's the intention." He strolled by her, heading toward the rear. Craig's voice echoed from the office, engaged in a call where he was emphatically addressing issues regarding supply delays. Tobias lingered just within the threshold, patiently, biding his time until Craig finished his call. Craig became bewildered. "How may I assist you?" "Absolutely you can. Kindly shut the door, please." Craig remained still, I instructed. "Shut it down." Craig closed the door, his stance rigid. The desk behind him was a chaotic mix of candy wrappers, 2 empty soda cans, and a mountain of unopened mail. Tobias remained on his feet. "I was present here last night. I have been here for a duration of 2 weeks, to be precise." Craig remained silent. "As the night janitor, observing the store's operations, witnessing your management style." Craig's jaw clenched. "This isn't solely about that cook, Liam. There's more to it than just him. The focus lies on the atmosphere you have cultivated. I have managed to minimize labor expenses. The figures we have are robust. We are achieving our goals." Tobias remarked, "That doesn't exemplify true leadership." "That's a form of influence." Craig's cheeks turned a deep shade of red. "I maintain strict control over everything. Children today seem to struggle with pressure." Tobias replied with a firm no. "What they cannot endure is mistreatment." Craig advanced, with purpose. "Hold on a moment, mistreatment? That seems quite far-fetched. You overlooked a burn injury. You chose to reduce hours rather than provide assistance. You abandoned your sole cook on a bustling Saturday night at the height of the rush because you were unwilling to step in. What do you believe a customer perceives when their order is delayed and there's no one tending to the grill?" Craig's gaze flickered restlessly. "That's outside my responsibilities. That's the purpose of the team." "Not anymore," Tobias said. "Your time here is complete." Effective immediately, Craig gazed intently. "So, I'm being let go, right?" "Surely, you must be joking." Tobias pushed the office door open. "Collect your belongings. Erica will guide you out. Your last paycheck will be dispatched by the week's end." Craig remained motionless. Tobias acted without hesitation. He stepped outside, spotted Erica lingering by the counter, and softly requested her to oversee Craig's departure. She nodded, taken aback yet quiet, As the remaining members of the morning crew gradually arrived, whispers of the news had already started to circulate. No inquiries were made. He had no defenders. That revealed to Tobias all the information he required. Liam showed up shortly after noon, his face ashen, a bandage tightly secured around his hand. He froze in place upon spotting Tobias by the drink station. He began, "I am," Tobias stated. "It's time for a conversation." He guided Liam to a secluded booth in the dining area, distanced from the other patrons. Liam sat rigidly, caught in a conflict between anxiety and a sense of relief. "I owe you an apology," Tobias said. "I observed you navigate challenges that no one should have to endure in the workplace. This place thrived because of your strength." Liam stared at the table, his eyes wide and unblinking. "I simply aimed to avoid making mistakes. You did not. Your level of responsibility over the past 2 weeks has surpassed that of your managers. Entire year. I have a question that needs answering. What made you choose to remain?" Liam paused, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. "I require the position. I look after my mom. She no longer navigates her surroundings with the same ease. I gather prescriptions, shop for groceries, and take care of the rent." Tobias gave a slight nod. "Are you open to embracing additional responsibilities in this role? I require assistance in bringing stability to the team. I have experience in managing people. You've earned the opportunity to give it a go. Your actions already set a standard for others to follow." Liam raised his gaze gradually. "Are you genuinely willing to place your trust in me for that?" Tobias acted without a moment's pause. "I believe in what I witnessed." He was standing there. "Complete your shift. Once we wrap things up, we'll gather to discuss the next steps." He dedicated the remainder of the day on site, refraining from micromanaging, simply observing and absorbing the atmosphere. The atmosphere in the store felt distinct. The group advanced with swiftness and agility. By the time the dinner rush arrived, it was as if Craig had never been there at all. Tobias had taken the initiative to contact HR and set up for a temporary manager from another district to arrive the following day. Yet in this moment he remained nearby. When a fryer malfunctioned, he eagerly dove in to assist Liam with the troubleshooting process. When the soda machine depleted its syrup, he took it upon himself to replace it. He kept his identity a secret from the rest of the staff. There was no necessity for him to do so. Once the day wrapped up, Liam encountered him in the office. Erica stepped in, her expression revealing a hint of uncertainty about her place in the situation. Tobias expressed his desire for both of you to assist in the reconstruction of this location. "We will be expanding our kitchen team. We are increasing the hourly minimum and eliminating the practice of doubling stations during peak hours." Erica inclined her body, eager and attentive. "Are you truly committed to the hiring process?" "This month, we experienced the loss of 3 individuals. Interviews will commence tomorrow. The budget has been successfully cleared and you," he directed his gaze at Liam, "will begin your training as the assistant kitchen lead next week. Erica will assist with managing the schedule. You will be reporting to the new interim manager while we search for a permanent solution." Liam reclined, feeling a wave of emotions wash over him. "I'm at a loss for words." Tobias advised to simply keep showing up, but next time, with company. The cleanup extended into the night, yet there were no complaints from anyone. As Tobias settled into his car, he paused before driving away. He paused for a moment. The engine hummed softly as I observed Liam step through the back door, cap clutched in his hand, his bandaged hand snugly hidden within the folds of his jacket. This time, he appeared quite alert. He seemed like a viable option. Tobias did not manage to rescue the store in a single day. Yet he had managed to halt the flow of blood, and most crucially, he had recalled the foundation that established the enterprise initially. Liam is well liked by many. Tomorrow, he would be at Store 7. Tobias made his way to Store 7 2 days later, arrived just in time to witness the morning preparations, yet managed to slip in after the district manager's routine inspection. He donned the same guise he had employed at Store 4, blending in, unremarkable and subdued. Once more, the temp agency credentials allowed him to step in, this time taking on the role of a dishwasher. Store 7 was situated in an affluent area of the city, featuring pristine sidewalks, upscale coffee shops at the corners, and a constant flow of patrons who anticipated efficiency and refinement. The lobby exuded cleanliness, with warm lighting casting a welcoming glow, and the signage, displayed with impeccable precision. At first glance it appeared to be the perfect setting. Within, the atmosphere shifted. "Hey, newcomer," said a tall man with a sharp tone standing near the dish station. "Do you speak English?" Tobias placed his bag on the ground. "Indeed." "Greetings. I'm Tommy, ready to assist with the meal this evening." The man refrained from providing a name. "Simply avoid making mistakes. I have no intention of training anyone. It's up to you to find a solution or you'll have to leave." Tobias gave a slow, deliberate nod. Understood. By noon, he recognized the man as the assistant manager, tall and lean, perpetually in motion, yet never handling anything more substantial than a clipboard. He lingered, adjusted, sighed in exasperation, yet never reached for a cloth or engaged in the task himself. Each directive was delivered as if he were speaking to a young one. The group was close-knit, yet filled with tension. A young woman, likely in her mid-20s, managed the register with sharp eyes and a polite voice. Monica's name tag was clearly visible. She welcomed each customer with a warm smile, even when Dean called her name mid-order to adjust her tone or quicken her pace. In the kitchen, a culinary artist named Matteo orchestrated the line. In the early 30s, one finds a sense of quietude and precision. His hands darted with speed, yet his gaze remained cast downward. Tobias observed that Matteo accepted every shift presented to him, remained glued to the grill, and only engaged in conversation when addressed by mid-afternoon. A distinct pattern emerged. Dean only addressed Matteo when he needed to highlight an error. He always avoided making eye contact with Monica. He never spoke to the dishwasher Tobias again after that initial remark. He relayed his instructions as if Tobias were completely absent from the scene. As a wave of college students flooded in during the lunch rush, the situation quickly intensified. One of them requested additional sauce from Monica. She graciously clarified that there was a minor fee involved. The customer scoffed and exclaimed, "You're actually charging for sauce. What is this food from the prison?" She offered another, smile responding with a sense of calm. "It's simply the policy of the company, sir." Dean entered from the side, cutting in unexpectedly. "We'll cover the sauce. Let's keep things calm." The pupil beamed with delight. Now we're getting somewhere. Monica's jaw clenched. Once the group departed, she shifted her attention to Dean. "You undermined my efforts while I was managing the situation." Dean remained engrossed in his tablet, oblivious to the world around him, simply aiming to keep things low-key. "You made me feel ashamed." Before them, Dean let out a weary sigh. "To earn respect, demonstrate your ability to manage pressure effectively." She gazed at him intently. "I certainly did." He departed without a word. Tobias remained silent, his gaze fixed on her with keen attention. She remained composed. She didn't leave in a huff. She simply pivoted back to the counter and continued on. Identical grin, identical tone, yet her eyes had transformed. In the rear, Tobias discovered Matteo replenishing the prep bins. The man glided with the ease of experience, yet a tension lingered in his shoulders that was absent before. Tobias inquired, "Have you been here long?" Matteo gave a slight nod. "More than 2 years. Dean has always been like this." Matteo kept his gaze fixed downward. "It feels even more challenging in solitude." "Why remain?" Matteo shrugged. "I have 2 children. One is in kindergarten, and the other is still in diapers. I cannot afford to have a lapse between my pay periods." Tobias rested his back against the wall. One might assume that a shop this immaculate would be the straightforward choice. Matteo let out a single dry chuckle. That's the impression they aim to create. The shift seemed to stretch endlessly. Dean moved through his rounds, offering critiques without assistance, pointing out flaws without imparting knowledge. He emphasized the fortunate position the team found themselves in, given the current economic climate. On 2 occasions he chuckled at Matteo's accent, soft murmurs imitating it quietly, referring to him as chef boy. No one found humor innate. Monica was tidying the counter when Dean approached her from behind and remarked, "You're not wearing makeup today." She stood still. "Pardon me. It seems like you might be looking a bit worn out today." She rotated gradually. "I'm not here for your gaze." Dean lifted his hands. "Unwind." It was a praise. Matteo cast a quick look from the kitchen. Tobias noted the instant. The way Monica's fingers tightened, the way Matteo's jaw set firmly. Silence enveloped the room, yet Tobias had gleaned all he needed to know. The following morning, Tobias made his way back to Store 7, dressed in his own attire. No hoodie, without gloves. He made his way through the rear entrance designated for deliveries and inquired about Dean. Dean descended from the office, a cloud of confusion surrounding him. "How may I assist you?" Tobias delved into his jacket and produced a folder, presenting it with a deliberate gesture. Within was a printed photograph. Tobias Ayers, the chief, executive officer, positioned before the main establishment. A letter adorned with the insignia of the corporation rests beneath it. Dean unsealed it. His demeanor remained unchanged. Tobias mentioned that you have been under observation. I've been present for each shift, every comment made. In each passing moment, Dean chuckled softly. Are you serious? I am not. Dean carefully folded the letter, securing it beneath his arm with a sense of purpose. Understand this, I challenge. Individuals. Indeed, this store experiences a significant amount of traffic. There's no room for indulgence here. Disrespect does not equate to true leadership, Tobias stated calmly. What you mentioned to Monica yesterday, you should consider yourself fortunate she didn't take it further. Dean let out a derisive laugh. It was innocuous. That was not suitable. You highlighted Matteo's accent. You set Monica apart in front of the customers. You established an environment where individuals tread carefully. Dean advanced with purpose. We achieved our sales targets. This shop delivers results. Not anymore, Tobias said. It's complete. At this moment, Dean appeared bewildered for the very first time. It's not something you can simply do. I find it impossible. Tobias expressed his thoughts and I followed through. Once Dean departed, Tobias convened a team meeting. He was succinct. He mentioned that Dean is no longer part of the company. In effect, right away, I've observed the inner workings of this place. You've maintained your composure in circumstances that were utterly unwarranted. Matteo lingered by the prep table, his arms folded across his chest. Monica lingered by the counter, her arms relaxed at her sides, observing him intently. Tobias continued, stating that a new manager from outside the district is being brought in. However, until they get here, Monica, I need you to take charge at the front. Matteo, you will be in charge of managing the kitchen operations. Monica raised her eyebrows. Is this for real? You truly deserve it. Matteo appeared hesitant. I haven't had the experience of leading a team before. You have already done that. The title simply wasn't bestowed upon you. They both nodded slowly, their minds still sifting through the information. As Tobias departed that afternoon, he encountered a customer entering. With a warm smile, she graciously held the door open for him. He returned the nod, then hesitated. Hey, he murmured softly. To Monica while she cleaned the counter, if anyone ever diminishes your worth in this role again, reach out to me immediately. She took her time before responding. Then she remarked, I don't believe I'll require that. He nodded once and stepped out into the waning light. Two establishments, two distinct forms of decay, yet the same underlying issue persisted. Leadership. That had lost sight of what truly mattered. He was far from finished. The next stop was Store 2. Store 2 appeared to be performing adequately on paper. Sales remained consistent. The feedback from customers was lukewarm, and the staffing figures appeared adequate. Yet Tobias had come to realize that spreadsheets could be misleading. He showed up right before the dinner rush, still under the same name, the same guise of Tommy, the temporary worker assigned to scrub and clean until closing time. The layout was more compact compared to the other locations. The dining area was situated near the counter, allowing a glimpse of the kitchen from the customer side. From the back hallway, Tobias could distinctly hear commands being issued in sharp, mechanical voices. Neither haste nor affection, merely movement. He consulted with the floor manager, a woman in her early 40s known as Nadine. She hardly lifted her gaze from the clipboard. She was managing a backlog of dish stations. You clean and organize. Refrain from engaging with the kitchen. They are already lagging without the need to wait for a response. She emerged from the back hallway and entered the dining area, leaving Tobias positioned awkwardly between a half-full mop bucket and a pile of unclean trays. The initial 25 minutes revealed insights that the figures could not convey. The kitchen crew was exhausted, not merely fatigued, but utterly depleted. Two chefs toiled alongside one another, focused and silent, exchanging few words. An older man, marked by a limp, walked alongside a teenager who spoke with a distinct stutter. The young person recoiled each time Nadine strolled by. The service window was adorned with heat lamps, not due to the rapid turnover of food, but rather because the front of house was failing to clear it away. Orders lingered for an extended period. The fries lost their crispness. The burgers were overcooked. A runner returned to retrieve 2 trays, and Tobias noticed her name on the badge, Holly. In her mid-30s, she moved with agility, yet her eyes carried a weight of weariness. "Are you frequently this short on staff?" Tobias inquired, his voice barely above a whisper. Holly adjusted the trays she carried, balancing them carefully. "No, we previously had 5 on the floor. Then 3 resigned in a single week. What transpired?" She paused, uncertainty flickering in her eyes. Nadine occurred. Tobias refrained from pressing the issue. He diligently cleaned the trays while observing intently. Nadine's interactions with the team felt purely transactional. There will be no inquiries or follow-ups, as the young chef let the spatula slip. From her grasp, she snapped a command across the kitchen, her focus unwavering and her gaze fixed elsewhere. Kevin hurriedly grabbed it, nodding in quick acknowledgement. She remained silent thereafter. Later, Tobias observed her brush aside a customer complaint with a stiff apology and a strained smile. She whispered softly to herself as she turned and left. Some individuals simply relish the sound of their own voice. The line cook listened intently. So did Tobias. By 9, half the dining room had cleared out, yet the atmosphere remained vibrant. The atmosphere had grown increasingly charged. Kevin continued to tend the grill, his hands a blur of motion, quicker than one might expect. His station was chaotic, littered with crumbs, grease and wrappers, leaving no opportunity for tidying up. The seasoned cook, Ramon, had uttered perhaps a mere 10 words throughout the evening as Tobias entered with a fresh load of trays. Holly knelt beside the soda machine, carefully mopping up a spill. She glanced upward, her cheeks rosy from the continuous strain of bending over. Nadine quietly mentioned that she had shortened our closing shift. "We are expected to conclude by 4. Now it's just the 2 of us, Kevin and I." Tobias opened his eyes wide. "What's the reason?" "She claimed we exceeded our hours this week, but that's not the case. Every Thursday I review the schedule." Tobias's heart raced. "She constantly alters the schedule after it has been posted. She removes the original and reprints it, stating that she adapts to the circumstances. Has anyone ever brought it to attention?" Holly rose to her feet with deliberate slowness. "A server made an attempt. She disappeared the following week. Nadine informed us of her resignation, yet her apron remains in the locker room." Once the final customer departed at around 10, Kevin lingered on the line, his hands trembling as he wiped down the grill. Ramon had punched out ahead of schedule. Nadine informed him that having 2 closers was unnecessary. Holly arranged the chairs quietly. Tobias made his way to the office. Nadine sat quietly, meticulously counting the receipts. "He mentioned that you let go of 2 individuals earlier this evening." She kept her gaze fixed downward. "It's not your business, just your effort. You've been adjusting schedules and reducing hours to steer clear of overtime. That constitutes wage manipulation." She raised her gaze then. "Pardon me. Last week, you reduced Kevin's hours without any prior notification. You've been pushing Ramon through his limp without allowing him the necessary breaks. You unsettle a young person with a speech difficulty, and you've established a constant flow at your entrance." Nadine rose to her feet. "Who do you believe you are?" Tobias advanced with purpose. "I am the architect behind this company." She stood still. "I'm Tobias Ayers," he stated, his voice steady yet resolute, "and you have completed your task." She parted her lips, yet he lifted a hand. "Your actions are in breach of the established guidelines. You have put the staff at risk. You've adjusted timelines and overlooked labor regulations. This topic is not open for debate." He pivoted and strode away. She chose not to follow. At 10:22, she exited through the rear entrance, keys placed down, apron neatly arranged on the desk. There were no farewells uttered. Tobias assembled the team in the dining area, consisting of Holly, Kevin, and Ramon, who had come back to assist without any prompting. Beginning tomorrow, this store will revert to having 4 closers. Organized, compensated, and documented. Holly, I would like you to take charge of the training for our new hires. This week, we will be interviewing 3 candidates for back-of-house positions. You will play a crucial role in determining who remains. She appeared utterly astonished. "You mean it? I exist. This place was safeguarded by you, even in times when you stood alone without protection." He glanced over at Kevin. "You've accepted every shift they offered you. I won't let that slip from my memory. A new kitchen trainer will be joining you. Rest assured you will receive complete assistance, along with the hours that are rightfully yours." Kevin nodded, his silence betraying the turmoil within him. Then Tobias cast his gaze upon Ramon. "You are seen. You've consistently been present each day, even when faced with the most challenging shifts. This is where it concludes. Your schedule is being adjusted to include rotating rest days, and we will be assessing your position for potential senior responsibilities." Ramon's lips curved slightly, a subtle smile breaking through the tension of the night. Tobias lingered until the final glow faded away. He assisted Kevin in removing the last remnants of char from the grill. He placed the final chair next to Holly as she tallied the contents of the closing drawer. He accompanied Ramon to the door and inquired if he required a lift back home. Ramon declined, yet his nod conveyed gratitude. Outside, the streetlights flickered, illuminating a quiet block. Tobias lingered for a while, observing as the store gradually returned to its quietude. He retrieved his phone and accessed the employee directory. It had been months since he last used it. He noted the store as well for follow-up, not solely for hiring but also for culture audits, anonymous reporting, and wellness checks. He had noticed the voids now, not solely in leadership, but also in his own detachment from the grassroots level. He placed his faith in numbers rather than in people, a choice he vowed would never be repeated. Seated in his car, he hesitated to turn the engine on immediately. He gazed at the hands that had polished floors, grilled burgers, and carried trays. He cast his gaze forward. The organization was expanding, yet it prioritized the well-being of its team. Not any longer. From this point forward, those who maintain the foundation will be the ones defining its essence. That was the sole type of enterprise truly deserving of being built.